A search for a lost beloved. Of the natural conditions of man is his search after an exalted being towards whom he has an inherent attraction. This deep-seated yearning is an intrinsic part of human nature, manifesting from early childhood and persisting throughout life. It is an expression of the human soul's profound longing for connection, meaning, and transcendence. As humans, we have got this built-in GPS for the divine, an inner compass always pointing us towards something greater than ourselves. You can see it right from the get-go with babies. They are like little magnets drawn to their mothers. No matter how cozy their crib or how soft their blankets, nothing beats the comfort of mom's arms. That's just the beginning of this lifelong quest for connection, purpose, and something bigger than what meets the eye. And then there is this beautiful dance of love that fills our lives. Think about the way we cherish our relationships, whether it is with a partner, our kids, or our close friends. It is like we are wired to seek out that deep bond, that sense of being truly known and cherished. That longing for connection is not just about the people in our lives. It is about something divine, something transcendent. Even our cravings for wealth, beauty, or the perfect melody, they're all clues in this cosmic scavenger hunt. We're drawn to these things because they hint at something beyond the surface, something that speaks to the very essence of our souls. But here's where it gets tricky. We often mistake the map for the territory. Instead of recognizing these desires as signposts pointing us toward the divine, we get sidetracked, thinking that wealth, beauty, or pleasure will scratch that itch for something more. It is like mistaking a glass floor for a pool of water. We tiptoe around, afraid to step on what we think is liquid, when in reality it is just a reflection of something deeper. Similarly, we chase after these earthly delights, not realizing they're just echoes of the true source of fulfillment, the divine presence that underpins everything. The promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace be upon him, writes about this profound search in his book The Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam. Of the natural conditions of man is his search after an exalted being towards whom he has an inherent attraction. This is manifested by an infant from the moment of its birth. As soon as it is born, it displays a spiritual characteristic that it inclines towards its mother, and is inspired by love of her. As its faculties are developed, and its nature begins to display itself openly, this inherent quality is displayed more and more strongly. It finds no comfort anywhere except in the lap of its mother. If it is separated from her and finds itself at a distance from her, its life becomes bitter. Heaps of bounties fail to beguile it away from its mother in whom all its joy is concentrated. It feels no joy apart from her. What, then, is the nature of the attraction which an infant feels so strongly towards its mother? It is the attraction which the true Creator has implanted in the nature of man. The same attraction comes into play whenever a person feels love for another. It is a reflection of the attraction that is inherent in man's nature towards God, as if he is in search of something that he misses, the name of which he has forgotten, and which he seeks to find in one thing or another which he takes up from time to time. A person's love of wealth or offspring or wife or his soul being attracted towards a musical voice are all indications of his search for the true beloved. As man, the philosophy of the teachings of Islam cannot behold with his physical eyes the imperceptible being, who is latent like the quality of fire in everyone, but is hidden, nor can he discover him through the mere exercise of imperfect reason. He has been misled grievously in his search and has mistakenly assigned his position to others. The Holy Quran has, in this context, set forth an excellent illustration, to the effect that the world is like a palace, the floor of which is paved with smooth slabs of glass, under which flows a rapid current of water. Every eye that beholds this floor mistakenly imagines it to be running water. A person fears to tread upon the floor as he would be afraid of treading upon running water, though in reality the floor is only paved with smooth, transparent slabs of glass. Thus these heavenly bodies like the sun and the moon etc. are the smooth and transparent slabs of glass under which a great power is in operation like a fast-flowing current of water. It is a great mistake on the part of those who worship these heavenly bodies that they attribute to them that which is manifested by the power that operates behind them. This is the interpretation of the verse of the Holy Quran. In short, as the being of God Almighty, despite its brilliance, is utterly hidden, this physical system is. a palace paved smooth with slabs of glass. The Holy Quran, Anam 27:45. The promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace be upon him, writes, "As man cannot behold with his physical eyes the imperceptible being, who is latent like the quality of fire in everyone, but is hidden, nor can he discover him through the mere exercise of imperfect reason, he has been misled grievously in his search and has mistakenly assigned his position to others. We are akin to wanderers traversing this earthly realm, yearning to return to our true home. Surely, to Allah we belong and to Him shall we return." Quran 2:157. Poem. Threads of Longing, Journey to the Divine. In the quest for a lost beloved's trace, humanity seeks an exalted face. In every soul, an inherent attraction, guiding us toward divine satisfaction. From infancy's first breath we yearn for a bond beyond what we can discern. In mother's arms solace is found, a love profound in heartstrings wound. Through human ties and affection's thread, we seek the divine in each we wed. Spouse, child, friend, and kin, echoes of a love that lies within. Yet wealth and beauty also call, drawing us near, holding us enthralled. But beneath material guise a deeper call. The divine, unseen, awaits us all. In our search we've often erred, mistaking the seen for the unheard. Like travelers lost in a world unknown, seeking a path to our eternal home. For the imperceptible, we strain our sight, beyond the limits of reason's flight. In longing hearts His presence gleams, the beloved of our deepest dreams. To Allah, the source of all we yearn, to Him alone, our souls return. In every search, in every quest, His presence, our eternal rest.
Ready for another deep dive? You know how much we love getting into those thought-provoking concepts, right? Well, today we're taking a look at this idea from spiritual philosophy, and it's all about this, inherent yearning that humans have.
A yearning.
Yeah, this almost like a homing beacon for connection with something bigger than themselves.
It's like we're hardwired for it, right?
Exactly.
This pull towards something bigger, transcendent almost. It just seems to be everywhere you look, across cultures and across history even.
And the text we're looking at today frames this in a really cool way, actually.
Yeah.
They describe it as a built-in GPS for the divine.
A built-in GPS. I like that.
It's like we're all on this cosmic scavenger hunt, constantly looking for clues.
For that ultimate connection, right?
Yeah, even if we don't always realize what we're really searching for.
That's so true. And it really makes you think, what are the clues in this cosmic scavenger hunt? Where do we even begin to look?
Well, the source starts with something we can all relate to. The bond between a mother and her baby. And they talk about this as the most foundational example of our need for connection.
That makes sense. I mean, from a psychological perspective, that very first attachment is so crucial. It shapes our brains and how we relate to everyone later on.
So could it be that this primal need for connection and love is actually the starting point for our spiritual seeking, like a foundation for a yearning for something even greater?
Wow, that's a fascinating question. It makes you think about how that early experience of pure dependence on our mothers, and that unconditional love.
Right.
It could actually be a template for our understanding of what the divine is.
So we're hardwired for connection from the very beginning. And maybe that's pointing us towards something beyond the material world.
It's a really compelling thought, but it gets even more interesting.
Oh.
The source goes on to say that we often mistake the map for the territory.
Okay, I need you to unpack that one for me. What does that even mean?
So think about it for a second. We chase after all these things in life, right? Love, wealth, beauty, even power. Thinking these things will make us happy.
Yeah.
But what if those are just signals on the GPS? Like signposts pointing to something deeper?
Like we're mistaking the symptoms for the cause. Chasing the feeling of satisfaction without understanding its real source.
Exactly. And that's where this whole concept of projection comes in.
Projection.
We might be projecting our longing for the divine onto all sorts of things in the material world without realizing it.
So how do we see that projection playing out in our everyday lives?
Oh, it's all over the place.
Like what?
Think about someone who's obsessed with success. They're convinced that achieving that next goal will finally make them happy.
Right.
But that drive could actually be coming from a much deeper need for purpose, a connection to something bigger.
Or someone who constantly seeks validation through romantic relationship.
Oh yeah, that's a great example. That could be rooted in a longing for unconditional love.
Like echoing that bond with their mother.
Exactly. And it shows how subtle these patterns can be, buried deep down in our subconscious.
So if we're constantly misinterpreting these signals, how do we start to see things more clearly? Like, how do we differentiate between the map and the territory?
Well, the source actually uses a powerful analogy to illustrate this point.
Yep.
It's from the Quran.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it talks about a palace with a glass floor. Picture this grand palace, right? It's opulent and luxurious, with a floor made entirely of glass. And beneath this glass floor, water flows, just tons of it. But when you're standing in the palace looking down, it looks like the floor itself is the water.
Whoa. That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It's like we're so easily tricked by appearances. We think we're after the water, the source of life and all that.
Yeah.
But we're actually stuck on the glass floor, that material world.
Exactly. We mistake the symbol for the actual thing, the reflection for the true reality. And this idea pops up all over the place in spiritual traditions too.
Really?
Think about Buddhism, right? That whole emphasis on detaching from worldly possessions and desires, or like the concept of Maya in Hinduism, the illusion of the material world.
It's amazing how these ideas cross cultures.
Yeah, it speaks to something universal, right, about the human experience. And it also highlights how important it is to cultivate discernment, to learn how to look past the surface.
So if we're always drawn to the shimmer of that glass floor, so to speak, how do we shift our focus? How do we tune into that divine GPS signal and find our way to the real water?
That's where things get even more fascinating. The source brings in a quote from the promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, and he describes this imperceptible being.
Hold on, when they say imperceptible being, what does that even mean? Is it different from like God or a higher power?
It's a really key distinction, actually. The imperceptible being points to something beyond our human senses. It's not something we can just observe or analyze scientifically.
So you can't just look in the right place. You have to look in a different way altogether.
Exactly. We need to develop a new kind of perception. One based on intuition, faith, a deep inner knowing that goes beyond the five senses.
I get that, but for a lot of people, the idea of faith feels like blind trust. How does that fit in with our need for evidence and logic?
It's a great question and a struggle for a lot of folks, but maybe it's not about giving up on reason completely, but more about expanding our definition of evidence. Like maybe the evidence we need isn't always something tangible or scientific.
Right.
Maybe it's about profound experiences of love or awe or connection, things that point to something bigger than ourselves.
That makes me think of those numinous experiences. Those moments when we feel a sense of wonder and awe that seems to go beyond the ordinary? Could those be a kind of evidence?
Absolutely. Those moments when we feel that connection to something greater, they can be so powerful. They shake us out of our routines and open us up to a whole new realm of possibility.
Like little cracks in the glass floor that give us a glimpse of the water underneath.
Exactly. And those glimpses can spark a bit of faith, a desire to experience that connection more fully.
The source also has this beautiful poem that talks about this longing and the journey we're talking about. It's called Threads of Longing, Journey to the Divine. Would you mind sharing some of it with us?
Of course. There are a few lines here that really resonate with me. In the quest for a lost beloved's trace, humanity seeks an exalted face. In every soul, an inherent attraction, guiding us toward divine satisfaction.
Those lines capture that universal feeling perfectly, that deep longing we all seem to have.
Yeah, and the poem goes on to explore how this yearning shows up in our relationships, our desires, the beauty we see around us. It's like these things are all threads pulling us back to that ultimate source of connection.
Like a trail of breadcrumbs leading us to that lost beloved.
Exactly. And the poem style, the metaphors and imagery, they really evoke that sense of yearning and the journey towards fulfillment.
There's a line that really struck me. Like travelers lost in a world unknown, seeking a path to our eternal home. It's like that feeling of being on a quest, but not always sure where to go.
And that feeling of being lost can be such a motivator, right?
Yeah.
It drives us to keep searching, to keep asking questions, to stay open to new ways of seeing things.
So maybe the cosmic scavenger hunt isn't just about the destination, but about what we learn along the way, the growth and changes that happen as we search.
I think you're right. The search for meaning and connection, it takes work. It's about introspection, willingness to go beyond our comfort zone, and challenging our own beliefs.
And paying attention to those GPS signals.
Right, exactly.
Whether it's a baby smile, a gorgeous sunset, a poem that touches our heart.
Exactly. Those moments of awe and wonder, those experiences of connection, they might be the clues we need to guide us on our journey.
So what does all this mean for our listeners out there on their own individual journeys?
It's a good question for all of us, really. If we all have this longing for something bigger, how are we nurturing it in our own lives? Are we even paying attention to the GPS signals trying to guide us to a deeper connection?
Are we getting sidetracked by all the shiny distractions, getting caught up in the superficial stuff and missing that deeper longing underneath?
It's easy to do, isn't it? We get distracted by all the glitz and glam of the material world and lose sight of what really matters, what truly feeds our soul.
This reminds me of a time when I was so fixated on getting a specific job, I thought it would be the answer to all my problems, I spent months just obsessing over it, putting everything I had into reaching that goal.
Oh, yeah.
And I got it.
Yeah.
It was exciting for a little while, but that deep sense of fulfillment I was looking for just wasn't there.
It's like you reached the spot on the map, but the territory itself was still missing. And that's such a common experience. It shows how important it is to be aware of our motivations, to really question why we want the things we want.
It's like we need to double-check our internal GPS all the time. Make sure it's leading us toward real fulfillment, not just some temporary high.
That's a great analogy. It brings us right back to that core idea we've been talking about this whole time. This inherent yearning for connection with something bigger than ourselves. It's a reminder that true fulfillment doesn't come from outside. It comes from within.
This deep dive wasn't just about some abstract philosophical concept. It was about understanding something fundamental about what makes us human.
Right.
That we're not just physical beings. We have a spiritual side, too. And if we neglect that spiritual part of ourselves, we'll always feel like something's missing, no matter how much stuff we accumulate or achieve.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that even though the search for meaning and connection is a personal journey, it's something that unites us all. We're all in this together, each of us trying to find our own way to that imperceptible being, that source of love and light that goes beyond what we can comprehend.
So as we wrap up this exploration of the built-in GPS for the divine attendant, I want to leave you with a question to think about. If we're all on this cosmic scavenger hunt, what clues have you found in your life that point towards something greater than yourself? What experiences have made you feel that sense of wonder and awe, that feeling of being connected to something beyond the everyday?
What makes you come alive? What makes you feel truly connected, truly whole? Pay attention to those moments, hold on to them, and let them guide you on your journey.
Because those moments, those little glimpses of the water beneath the glass floor, they might just be the breadcrumbs leading you home. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep that inner compass pointed towards something extraordinary.